Hi, I'm Dr. Rolan Tripp, and here is Charles. Charles is one of our Hannah puppies, and he is getting prepared to go to his forever home with one of our Hannah members. Now, part of what we do at Hannah is we do what we call BMOD, which is behavior modification. We take individuals like Charles and we evaluate them and see, well, do you have any weak areas or areas that need to be modified? Well, Charles, one of the things he tends to do is he likes to bite on hands. Now, he's getting a little tired right now, so I'm going to see, for demonstration purposes, I'm going to go ahead and put my hand in his mouth. And you see he likes to bite, and he's biting a lot. So the topic right now is how to handle puppy biting. Now, what I'm going to do is when he bites me too hard, I'm going to yelp. And I'm going to yelp loudly and sharply to tell him how much biting is too much. Now, the key here is we want to tell him how much is too much. This is called bite pressure inhibition training. We're training the dog, or educating this little individual of how much pressure to have in the bite. So I'm going to do a demonstration here, then I'll tell you why, because he's biting me a lot right now. So I'm going to let him bite. When he gives too much pressure, I'm going to yelp out. I'm going to see if he'll learn not to bite my hand. Okay, so first I'm going to encourage him to bite because I want to give him the chance. Ow! Okay, so in mid-sentence I had to do that because that's when the pressure exceeded the threshold. Now what I did was I yelped loudly, and if you noticed, he was startled by that. He stood back and didn't do anything for a few seconds. That's what you want. The mistake people make is when they cry out and they go, ow, and so the dog becomes desensitized to that sound because it wasn't sharp and loud enough. So I'm going to try to get him to bite me again, and let's see if I can do it. See, the thing is, at this age, this is a really important concept. At this age, this little brain right here is prepared to learn this concept. Nature is telling him, bite harder and harder and harder until you get feedback. I believe that's why nature gives these puppies such these needle-sharp little teeth like this, is to accentuate how much pressure is on there. What would happen is if Charles was with his brothers and sisters, they'd be playing with each other, and they'd be biting each other harder and harder and harder until he would bite too hard, and the littermate, his little sister, would say, ow, I don't want to play with you, and just stop playing. Play is a very big driver in dogs, so the stopping of the play is a form of punishment. He will then learn to inhibit the pressure of his bite so that his brothers and sisters will continue to play with him. That's what nature intended. Now, humans come along and we take Charles away from his brothers and sisters. We have to then fill in for them and teach him what he didn't learn from them. Now, we're going to set a limit of how much pressure we're going to allow him to bite. So, I'm suggesting it is not what hurts you. That is too much pressure. What we want is to establish a pressure like this. I suggest you say, a one-year-old human. Think of how delicate a one-year-old baby's skin is. That's how much pressure you pretend is on you. So when he's biting my hand, I'm going to see if I can get him to do it again. He learned very quickly. So he's biting gently. As long as it's so gentle, as long as it's just gentle like this, even on a baby's skin, that wouldn't cause any trouble. So he's allowed to do that. He's learning that amount of pressure is inhibited, and that's okay. When he gets harder and harder, like he did a moment ago, he was experimenting, he was charging up, he bit hard enough that I felt that was more than I want in a one-year-old human. That's when I yelped, and he learned from that immediately, because the brain is primed for it. Older dogs, the brain is moved on, it's not in the right time, so it's much harder to teach him at that age. So I'm going to go back now and just try to get him to bite me. Good boy, yeah, you're worried now, because he's learning this. So I'm going to kind of force my fingers in there and see if I can get him to do it. Good boy, you're being a good boy. He's a little worried now because I yelped. And he's very sensitive dog, Charles. Good boy, you're a good boy. All right, let me see if I can't get him to bite me anymore. And that was on one repetition. That's because the brain is just ready for it. The key is this. First, we want him to bite us as much as possible so that he can learn, oh, that's what it was. It was that much pressure, and that's what happened. That's what made you stop playing with me. So the yelp marks the exact instant when the pressure was too much, and then shun the dog, turn away and ignore the dog. Social withdrawal. I'm not playing with you because you bit too hard. We're going to pretend, and this is what we want. We want the dog to think that paper mache is what's made out of our hands. In other words, we want to fool and act like paper mache, that very, very paper-like pressure. Now, if the dog thinks that human skin is like paper mache or paper, then if he ever in his life has to, in his mind, has to bite a person, he'll bite with only enough pressure to make the person go away. So this is an important concept. What if it's you? What if you had Charles? And imagine a little boy came over to your house, a little human boy who's a brat. And he goes and he finds the dog in the back and he's poking him in the eye and doing stuff that kids do sometimes, who are nasty kids. Well, we would say, well, the dog deserved to bite him. But would the police say that? Would his mother say that? No. So in the scenario when the kid's hassling the dog and the dog bites him, if the dog has had this training, then when the kid runs and shows his mom, the dog bit me, you look over his hands and there's no mark. That's what we want. No mark. And hopefully the kid leaves the dog alone now. Well, what if the dog has not had bite inhibition training? What if the dog never learned to inhibit the pressure of the bite? Now that dog might bite that kid so severely to rip the tendons or remove a piece of flesh or something like that. That's a whole different discussion that you don't want to have. So with puppies, the first thing with bite pressure inhibition training, step one, allow them to bite a lot. Use this criteria. We're pretending that it's a 1-year-old human and not your hand. When they get to that pressure, yelp suddenly and sharply, startle the dog, and then shun them. Then, here's the secret, come right back after 15 or 20 seconds and try to get them to do it again. If they can do it 2 or 3 times, they learn faster. Charles here seemed to learn it in 1 repetition because I can't get him to bite me anymore. Once you determine that this has been learned, and how do you know? Because they will never bite you that hard again. Then you say, all right, I don't want you biting my hand at all anymore, and you simply move them away and prevent it from happening. Praise them when they're not biting, and we're good to go. So that's how to teach this puppy bite pressure inhibition and how to prevent and handle puppy biting. If you want more information, come and visit us at hannasociety.com. Thank you.